Hi, so we've just had the third week of my WordPress course, and I had more of a look around this week at different things that were available online to find out some more details of things that have changed since I used it last. It's been really interesting looking at some of the really long 2-3 hour videos, and actually a large part of that is getting yourself an account, choosing specific themes that are recommended, and a very first, very defined way of progressing through. I wanted to do something that was a little bit more freeform, and for me, the people who are on the course, I feel, would like more freedom, so they'd like to trial safely different options without being told exactly the steps to get one specific answer. Following my looking around and following my trying things out further, and because one of the students was away this week, so I promised I'd make a video. Here is a talk through of the things that I think are quite important up until this point. So we have gone for a free subdomain, WordPress subdomain. That means that we can do this without having to go down one particular path, paid path. We haven't gone for a specific full domain. We're just having a little play around here. So it's nice and safe. We're not editing anything important right now. So note, with a free account, we don't get a domain, we're just making a subdomain with wordpress.com at the end. So I've made an account, and then I, actually this week I had a website and I added a new one. This came as a little bit, I thought I could have more than one at once, but it turned out I had to get rid of one of them. But I was just having a play around, so I added new site. From there, from there you have quick links down at the bottom, manage your site, within the My Home and the setup. And at this point we should, if we haven't already, if this is our first site, we would add make a name for our site, and what this allows us to do is trying to push us towards buying an account, a domain, and if we want to do that, that's excellent. If you want a domain, that's the point where you've got to. I just chose a .wordpress.com, and I also at that point added a title, and I added a site icon. So as I say, I made a new subdomain today, thinking I could just have multiple ones in Weebly. That's possible. I realised that it wasn't, so what I did was because they were just my junk play sites, I just deleted one, and the other one I could use excuse me, within minutes. The next thing I found really useful for a new site was to use the site setup. So it created it, it named it, then it worked how to create a menu, then I could change my home page, then I could launch it. So I could do those steps little by little, and I like that step-by-step approach. As I say, I went to create site, and then when I went to launch the site, here's the ones you see, wordpress.com, that was my new one I made, and as I went to launch it, I publish it, it just kept halting and coming up with an error. At this point, 404, 404, 403 error, 401 error maybe. I at the time just thought it had got itself in a muddle, but I realised now that actually I could only have one free site, so I just went back and deleted my old one. It gave me, as long as I know it's junk and it's not important, gave me quite a feeling of power that, yeah, I've got control of this. I can do that. I know what I'm doing. So here's something I find quite interesting. I have been recommending to my students that we work in the variously called My Sites area, My Home area, the dash, but My Home, My Sites. I had been, and my students have been finding they were really limited on what was possible when we went to the pages. I can't see that on there. When we went to pages, that would be under here. Be dropped down from there. Some pages I could edit, some pages I could only view. I couldn't change the name of the site. I found that quite awkward. I realised, looking up videos, that WP Admin, rather than working through the options here, if when you come in instead you go straight through to WP Admin, you get the old dashboard. And we found that, certainly for what we wanted, this was a better option. When we went on pages, I'll show you in a moment, we actually had all the options that we wanted, and it did everything we wanted. So I have been going back right through to WP Admin. Having said that, I then, watching various videos and looking up bulletin board posts through WordPress. Really very little information. I thought maybe I'd mistaken this as the right place to be, but actually I saw that WordPress actually recommends this new editing site here, this editing area here. So I wasn't wrong. This is the right place to be. But I still find that WP Admin, see there are multiple, there are duplicates of things. I find that this just offers a little bit more flexibility. For example, you can see here, this is in the dashboard, the WP Admin version of the Edit Suite. You can see here are the names of my pages, and every page, as I scroll over it, comes up with these 5 options. It allows me to edit, do a quick edit, copy, or trash, or just view that page. So I found in the, if I can go back, in this version, and pages in this version comes under Site. This would open up and show pages. Some, as I say, would let me edit, some would only let me view, and there must be a way around that, but it wasn't obvious at all. So I like going into WP Admin. You can see you have these options, easy to edit, easy to make a copy, so I could use one page as a template and then make a copy. And we have view option, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. I'm certainly not going to recommend a particular plan. I've told my students for the websites that I build, especially if I've ever shared editing with any other people who are not 100% savvy in using this. I really like Weebly. I like that it gives me free subdomains that are unlimited in time, so I can play and play and play, and when I'm ready I can then make those live. I can have multiple free web domains, and I find it has all the options. I can make a form, I can add maps, and everything is just simple. It just is intuitive. It works how you would expect it to work. You click on it and it gives it options. All the delete and the move functions are all in the same place. So I do like Weebly. but I recognise that the price is often a consideration. Two of my students already have sites opened in WordPress that they're starting to edit, so they don't have a choice unless they risk taking it out, exporting it, and then importing it again into a new place. But I don't think they want to go down that route. So at this point, or once you've built something and you've had a play, you really want to look at which plan you want. As I say, I'm not going to recommend anything. The videos I've all watched have all been related to a specific brand, Wix or GoDaddy, and so they at this point recommend the one that they would suggest for you. When you compare prices, things to look out for: lots of host and sell the site as well, or allow you to transfer that and buy that across. It makes life easy if you put the two together. Beyond that, if you just want a simple site with information, you're probably looking, if you want to go beyond having a subdomain, which doesn't look entirely professional, you probably want to go for the personal or possibly the premium. If you want to shop, that point is where you really need to look at what options are offered, how many items are allowed in each plan, and also a thing to be aware of is that for the beginner store plans, they often charge far higher commission on each sale, and they may limit which brand you can use to connect up to for your sales. So that's the point where you need to decide how the figures work out for you. Also, if you want plugins, you need to go beyond free sites, free plans. You need to start buying a plan. We look this week again at themes. Again, the videos that I've watched are very specific about this is the theme that I always use. For example, when you have a free site, when you have a subdomain, you have a smaller choice, and it automatically chooses a random one for you at the start. You can change that. What you're looking for in your theme is things like where the header goes, where the title goes, where the menu goes. Notice, well, all of these have a menu on the right. What font there is. You can change these things, but for instance, this is in orange and blue up here. These are, I can't find it, this is a serif font with the little serifs, little swirls across for its title, whereas these are mostly sans serif. They're very much more boxy. So it's up to you the difference. I was talking to my husband today and saying about the complexity of WordPress, and he compared it to starting photo editing on Photoshop. If you want to do a little bit red eye, or just make a few changes, just get going with what you're offered. WordPress is not, I would suggest, a beginner's option. There are so many Wix, WordPress, Wix, Weebly, GoDaddy, Foursquare, I believe, who just have click together options. That's more like the photo editors that we have now, that are just to make changes within those boundaries. WordPress is more like using Photoshop, where there are so many fine details, so many little details that can be adapted, that you want to decide if you want that freedom. We also found, while we were playing with it, that which theme you chose could have an effect on what options you had later on. So one theme wouldn't allow you to crop images, and the menu builder looks to be different in different themes. So there can be behind the scenes effects, as well as the look of the page, depending on the theme that you choose. So this was interesting. When I'm editing, when I'm making a website, I far prefer to just ignore the pages that are made with the template, with the theme, the first time I make a site. I then go and I build pages from blank. I just use a blank template layout, yeah, and I just build up the blocks to suit what I need. I've done that because for years I've taught web page design and development, and people get very, very bogged down on the pages that they're given, where they have pictures and words and hyperlinks and all sorts of information that is not relevant to them. And they kind of, why has it got this picture on it? And if they want to change it, it takes a long time. It would take, several hours to change all the things to make it their content. However, watching a video this week, the person who did that recommended completely the opposite. That person recommended, once you built your first page, your first site with probably 4 pages given to you. There's an about, maybe a blog, a home, and a contact. They're usually the ones. They loved it. They said, this is fantastic, because look at the design that you have. All you have to do is put your own pictures, words, and slot them into those places. They liked that you have, say, 3 images, and then at the bottom you have a little bit of a history, perhaps. For me, I've never wanted to build a site or a page the way that the page was originally built. But I can see from this that their recommendation that you I can see that their recommendation that you use what you're given and then just put your own content in there does make nice, neat content, but I would suggest using blocks. That limits the options anyway, so I don't think that's so much of a problem. Which brings us to the new editor. There are, in certain themes, ways to edit in different ways, but the new block editor is moving much more towards how other web development companies work. And what you do is you choose from a range of blocks, and those blocks are pre-formatted to suit that theme that you have selected. So, for example, if you build a tiled gallery, it does all the automatic moving for things, and it will have so that every image will be formatted in the same way. If I want to do paragraph text, that will be formatted to my theme. If I want to make quote text, that again is formatted so that everything is of a piece. I don't have to tell it to do it in a slightly different colour or something. That is all comes with the theme. There are other, I've got the text ones at the top, they're the basics, but then you've got media, and then as you can see from this size of this scroll bar here, there are probably 50 or more blocks, maybe 100 blocks in different categories. You can see here it was even, these were the options that on the page I was on, includes a form block which you can then edit, and an Eventbrite block there. So all those are just blocks that you put down, and then it's down to you to fill them with content. That's, as I say, much more moving towards the way that website builders are working. You want to be previewing your page. It lets you see the content with the wrapped around outside edge. So a few things I noticed. WordPress is maddening. The default is to open the preview over the top on the same tab. Oh, so annoying. So a hack that I see on videos is you can, of course, right click on the word preview and then open a new tab. That way you can continue editing and then refresh that preview. Another thing we found very frustrating was that when you make a hyperlink, it's not possible to include the code target equals quote underscore blank quote, which is the piece of code in a hyperlink that makes the page open onto a new tab. So the default, and we could not find any way of easily using a link, a pre-provided link in those blocks, for it to include that option, which we found quite maddening. So as a default, it will always, if you go to an external page from your website, it will open over the top of your site. There is, and I'll show you at the end of this, or towards the end of this, you could use an HTML block and type it in fully, but of course then the format doesn't include the formatting that a hyperlink block necessarily would. So what you're actually getting when you make a website, when you are working on it, is you have the shell content, the outer content, and that outer content is changed using the customize. So that's what the title will say, whether there's a header and an image, where the menu will be, what the menu says, what social media buttons you have. And then on the page edit tab option, that's where you change the individual content. So if I go back here, the outer bit, Christmas with Siobhan, and here these social media buttons, these come and were made in the customize part. On the other hand, this Christmas will be different. This part here I made with, let me go back, the pages part. So when I went to about and edit, all I am editing and all I can see while I'm editing is this square in the middle. And what I want to do is when I preview, I get to see the whole thing together. Similarly, when you are making a blog page, the blog page itself is one page that you make. And then, and you can add things like tag clouds, things like that, but it is preferably one page that you have. And then there is an option on the menu down the side to edit post and make posts, and those appear all on your one blog page. You have the option in it to click and see the detail. So I was saying you want to change the outside part, the bit that is the same on each page. You want to go and customize, and here in the WP admin, in the old editing area, choose customize, and I then went on and we have things like, so I went into customize site identity. There's my title, that's going to be on every page. There is my menu, and I just click here to change the menu. I click here to change the social media. I click here to change the title. Or I can find these sections individually in the customize area, like I have here. So you can see, as I show you, I've added the title, and that's now the name at the top. On the page, individual page, I edited the page because I'd forgotten to put a block that was title format, and that meant then I have this. And this area I customized as well, so the menu, the social media buttons, and the title were all changed using customize, and they will now be the same on every page. Only this inner space was made using the page edit. And then I just wanted to add that this is the code if you want to write your own hyperlink. This part here, target equals quote underscore blank quote, that is the part that will open the hyperlink onto another page. Two final things I've just added to this is a couple of my students have just started work on their real site. The thing I like about doing my course is that you're just playing with a free site. It's got no relationship to anything that you've made before or that you're working on, so you can be quite free with that. But there comes a point where you want to feel that you're sure of what you're doing because you want to work on real content. If you have inherited a site, which a lot of people have, things I would do that would give me more confidence. I would make two options in WordPress. So one is I would make copies of each of the pages. I'd just make sure I named them as copies, so they were obviously copies. I can then happily work away with the kind of original page. It doesn't matter if I delete things if I'm not quite sure where things are, because the content is still written there. Or alternatively, copy it into a Word document if it's a lot of written content. And that works in any brand that you're using. Another option is to export your site. WordPress has a very well-developed export, so it just sucks all the content out and packages it together. And then if you need to, you could start again and you could import it. So you export, you then do some changes, you don't like what you've done, you could, and you've got yourself confused, what you could do is you could go back and you could import your site, and that will take you back to the old version. This links well with, I had an idea that perhaps you could start with WordPress, because a lot of people have inherited WordPress sites, and then try them out in other free companies. In WordPress, you have here in the WP admin, you have import and export, and here in the My Home, My Site menu, you can see down at the bottom import export. So those are easily available. You'd export it to keep it stored, and you'd import it to write back over the top of things. And I believe that WordPress will add to content. So it will add on rather than overwriting, but you might want to try that. I'm really sad to say I'd hoped, this was a good plan I had, and I hoped that this was something you could do to take your content from WordPress, if you've inherited in WordPress, and then try it out, for example, in Weebly. But Weebly doesn't have import-export tools as such. It does have a zip function, but it says that is just to hold the content, not to export it ready to put somewhere else. So there are ways to do it, there are tools you can use, but that's not a directly available option in Weebly, sadly. But I hope that those two last options, making a copy of any pages before you edit them and exporting your site so that you have a historic record of what it was, will both be things that you can do to give you more confidence to go ahead and edit your work. And I think that covers what we did in this week. Thanks.